Hello, everyone. That's right, we're going at this again. Signed by the... It all began with a notebook my mother handed me. She told me she found it while cleaning out the closet. This old notebook covered with mold was a diary that belonged to my grandfather, who passed away years ago. It contained his distant memories. I wonder if you still remember how we first met in our many adventures. It all seemed like a dream. We ran like the wind during those warm summer days long ago. You were a piece of a star that fell from the sky. I can still relive the memories of those days long past. Just by closing my eyes, like so, and whispering your name into the desolate night. Kid. Kid. That's the same journal that was recorded in Chronopolis. And they even said, this sounds like an alternate universe. Kid. Hey, kid. Are you ready, kid? I know you're anxious, but stay on your toes. Yeah, likewise, mate. You mess up, I'm leaving you behind. Got that, Surge? Come on, Miguel. Let's go. That bastard Linux is gonna get what he deserves. Say your prayers. Not that it'll do you any good. Even for a game that came out in '96, the music is good. Then again, we know what the music is. So of course we start a new game. Yeah, we start a new game. Auto text, adjust sounds, menu. Okay, so Surge. The old lady's tip-off was right on the money. The counter spell on the barrier around the outer walls could have done a real number to us. Kid's plain, unadorned braid flicked back and forth across her shoulders as she walked. We picked our way through the elaborate lattice of the manor's magic shields, moving in closer and closer to Lord Linus's stronghold. There were three of us, Kid, Miguel, and me. I guess it must have been 3 years already since I first met Kid. Back then, I was just a wandering musician, traveling wherever my feet would take me, wherever a few tunes would pay for a warm bed. It was in the outlands in a town called Rincaria where we first ran across one another, and since then she dragged me along on a whole bunch of adventures and misadventures too. Kid. She was a thief, and not just any thief, just a few months shy of 17, already renowned as one of the realm's greatest. What's more, she was achingly beautiful, stylish, a joy to be around, and a dab hand at campsite cooking, or so she'd like to claim. Truth was a little different. Those bandits with hearts of gold you've heard about in stories, the ones who steal from the rich and give to the poor, yeah, that was a kid style. She was short tempered, prone to lying, bossy, and obsessed with money, and worried did she care to listen to a single word anyone said to her. Yeah, that sounds about her. That sounds like her. But she wasn't all bad. Probably, maybe, sometimes. She had her moments anyway. I glanced over my shoulder to see a shadow hovering behind us, blending into the darkness like smoke. Miguel, also known as Miguel the Shade. He was Kid's partner, but even after 3 years, I still I still knew hardly anything about him. All I knew was that he was around 30 years old and not much of a talker, but he was one heck of a mage. I heard that he and Kid started working together way before I met her. He was always covered. He always covered the top half of his face with a mask, and I'd never seen what he looked like underneath. He was a man so mysterious that sometimes seemed like he was an interloper from another world. It wasn't like Kid was exactly big on details about her past, but Miguel, he might as well have not have one at all. The Kid didn't seem to know much about her partner in crime either. What kind of man he was, what kind of life he'd lived before, nothing. You might ask, how exactly I wound up being part of this merry band? Well, it's complicated. I guess you could say that life doesn't always turn out the way you think it will. Kid who was heading our little raiding party suddenly stopped dead. Look lively, boys. You got company. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm. Tank in a the glanced around wearily as cold, cruel eyes emerged from the darkness. I heard a low growl. Dark shadows prowled through the night, surrounding us. A pack of wildcats. There must have been about 10 of them. A thrill of fear ran down my spine. Flustered, I pulled my knife from my bucket. My belt. Okay, what? Kid calmly shifted into a fighting stance. Watch these shelves. I don't reckon these buggers have been treated for rabies. The wildcats snarled and growled as they slowly closed in on us, drawing the noose tighter and tighter. Their eyes glistened in the darkness like fireflies, and strings of eager spittle wetly to the ground. Then one of them set an almighty roar soaring through the moon, and the hunt was on. What we gotta do? I attacked. I slashed at a nearby wildcat with my knife. The beast tried to leap clear, but was already too close. I felt the blade make contact and was rewarded with a screech of pain. Jumped away, this time managing to put some distance between us. Looks like I haven't cut it very deeply. I stood my ground, changing my grip, the knife, and waiting for another chance to attack. Search behind you. Paranoid. Attack again. A reflex. I ducked, its attack sweeping through the air. Yeah. And the cannon found enemy. I rolled on the rear, was able to stagger back to my feet before running by myself. I was breathing heavily, slick with sweat, and I tightened my grip. But it kicked like a bolt of lightning. Kid landed a clean hit on the flank of a nearby wildcat. Staggered before losing a footing, letting out a pathetic cry, but Kid had already moved in to finish it. And then a roar of fire. A burning smell filled my nostrils, and next to me, a shrill screech pierced the ear. Miguel's fire spell engulfed the head of a nearby wildcat. It fled, darting off into the darkness like an arrow. I scanned the area. Only moments ago, we had been surrounded, but now there wasn't a single wildcat left. Kid and Miguel had either sent the rest off with their tails between their legs or put paid to them once and for all. Ha! You're dreaming if you think a pack of flea-bitten moggies gonna stop us, Lennox. Crossed her arms and flashed a triumphant grin. Meanwhile, I was panting heavily, and it felt like my legs were about to give out from under me. I collapsed to my knees, overwhelmed by what I've just been through. Ah, I had taken a few hits, but I was fine otherwise. A couple of scars to talk about later. Maybe, but nothing that would stop me carrying on. Are you hurt? The gal looked down at me, his face expressionless as ever. No worries, Meg. I'll be fine. He'll be right. That kid bargaining to get a better look at me. He may be a winging sook, but it'll take more than a few scratches to kill this one. There's nothing if not sympathetic. She was right. This is no time to be bemoaning my lot. We haven't even reached the manor yet. I dabbed at my wounds with a vinegar-soaked cloth and wrapped them with bandages, then looked up at the other two. Or just getting started. I can be putting a brave face. That's what I like to hear, Kid cheerily announced from close quarters. But then her eyes turned cold, like a cool glow of the moon in the night sky. It's gonna be a long night. I nodded, trying my hardest not to utterly lose myself in her pale blue eyes. All right, let's get this show back on the road. She turned away and marched off deeper into the trees without looking behind to see if me and Miguel were following her. Miguel, of course, was already right behind her, his unhurried gait making it seem as though nothing had happened at all. I jumped back up to my feet and chased after them. I'd be I'd be in for even more trouble than I bargained for if I got separated from them. Nine? Oh, good, I can save. Okay. The dark forest inside the manor's perimeter seemed to go on forever. A labyrinth of trees and boulders. The manor itself loomed in the distance, glowering over the vast grounds, and hidden within was a veritable mountain of treasure just waiting for us. Lord Linux was the noble who ruled the remote territory of Regora. He was also Kid's mortal enemy. We were there that night to steal a certain jewel he kept locked away in his most closely guarded vault, the Frozen Flame. The Frozen Flame was veiled in mystery. It is said to be imbued with an uncanny energy and possessed of a beauty and clarity that made it a priceless treasure. Countless thieves have tried to steal it, but not one of them have come close to succeeding, or had any of them escaped the manor alive. And now it was our turn to try and sneak into this place of death. Led by a girl who had the ambition to make the impossible possible, a hunger for vengeance that drove her onward, and a desire for riches that could never be satisfied. As we pressed on through the tree-filled darkness, the shadows gave way at last, revealing a true extent of the vast manor. Oh, finally, say your prayers, Ronix. Linux, because we're coming for you. I cannot read today. Keeping to the overgrowth, in the shadows of the trees, we made our way around the manor walls in search of a means of entry. Eventually, we came to a terrace. overlooking the garden. There's no signs of any guards nearby. The only thing surrounding the manor was an uncanny stillness. This will lead us straight into the West Wing, just as well. We don't have any business in the rest of the manor tonight, said Miguel, gazing up at the dark building towering over us in the night. All right then, what are we waiting for? With that, Kid made to vault over the railing of the terrace. Stop. Remember what we're here for. Our main target is the vault and the frozen frame within. We focus on this above all else. Your vengeance is of secondary concern. Agreed? Glancing over his shoulder, Cleo replied with a reluctant, yeah, don't get your knickers in a twist. But if we happen to run into him, I'm gonna knock that Drongo's block off. Neither of you or anybody else is gonna stop me. I guess Kid was going to get our way, whether we liked it or not. Let's go, boys. The night is young. She cleared the building with a springy hop and vanished inside the manor. I glanced towards Miguel and nodded in silence. We followed Kid's lead and were soon inside Lord Linex's lair. The darkness swallowed us whole. Let us take the moment to say. There we go. The corridor stretched off. To the left and right of the terrace, it seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. Okay. We double save. Take the left passage. I'm using a walkthrough, by the way, to make this go a little faster. We pressed on through the darkness, down corridors that turned, twisted, snake-like, this way, that one. Everything was around us was still and silent, and it felt strangely like we were being watched. It was as if countless eyes were there. Okay. We continued, creeping cautiously down the corridors. Kid moved proudly and stealthily like a cat stalking its prey, while in the shadows Miguel followed. We pressed on in the embrace of the Weaver of Fate. We took the corridor leading to the left-hand side of the town, eventually arriving at an intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs. The path to the left was a dark passage, and the main corridor continued straight onward. Go down the stairs. Ooh, we're going there first. Slowly, we crept down the staircase, descending deeper into the blackness as we went. At the bottom, the path split. The way to the left continued on to the auditorium that resembled a sort of plaza, while the path to the right was a winding passageway that trailed off into the darkness. Okay, we go down the stairs and enter the passage to the right. We went down the stairs, then took the passage to our right. Eventually, we came across an ornate door on the right-hand side. Something smelled fresh and pleasant. Flowers? Was it coming from inside? We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curios dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and the cozy-looking bed nearby, meanwhile, suggest the room's occupant was no stranger to luxury. Though the room was richly furnished, somehow it still felt awfully lonely. Kit took a quick look around before commenting, "It's Linex's girl's room." A half-written letter on the desk and a teacup, still warm, suggested that the lady of the manor was still nearby. But it didn't seem that anyone was here now. We decided to search the room. Some charming flowers, a discarded cotton handkerchief, a small bottle of perfume. Nothing that meant much to me, nor anything that seemed particularly valuable. Kid seemed to have the same impression and scanned the room clearly, not expecting to find anything. The only item of note was a small antique box, which bore a crest resembling a viper. I decided I decided where to look next. I opened the chest of drawers. I slid one of the finely frails laces. Oh. Of garments overflowed from within. Dresses. Give us a look. I'd been just about to close the drawer again when Kid came up and started peering over my shoulder. She reached a hand to touch one of them, though I sensed a certain hesitation. I never worn anything this posh in my life. The gown she picked out was cut simply but beautifully and was decorated with a pale floral pattern on the white background. She held it up to her chest and took a gentle twirl around the room. She was laid on her feet as a woodland nymph. The fabric fluttered like flower petals, and she held him just so. In that brief moment, you could almost have called her dainty. And stupid thing, not exactly me, eh? I wouldn't say that. I think it really suits you. Oh, excuse me. It's turning angry red. Come on, we ain't got all night. The spell's well and truly broken. She stomped out of the room. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. The path to the right, yeah. Head to the right. Yeah, to the right. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at a sturdy-looking, immaculately polished door. So I thought something stinks here. I reckon we found the beast's lair, lads. In the darkness, Kid's lips twisted into a grin that turned my blood cold. We went inside. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. Kid opened the door and stepped inside. It was Linux's room. But he didn't seem to be around. The bugger's gone and scampered because he heard I was coming. There was something deeply unpleasant about the room. There wasn't anything unusual about the furniture or the fittings. Not how they looked or how they were made, but taken as a whole, it all felt discordant. Was this a reflection of Linux? A seemingly ordinary facade that hid a disturbing truth only some could see? Let's see what we can find. The chest drawers, the painting on the walls, the vase on top of the side. We left no stone unturned. There didn't seem to be anything suspicious. But as I scanned the room, something unusual caught my eye. There was a pedestal in one corner with a significant looking scarlet cloth drawn over it. Slowly raised my hand towards it. That does not look like scarlet. I know what he's talking about. It's the thing in the back. It's purplish. Be careful what you touch in here, warned Miguel. I pulled my hand back timidly, but then the cloth fit black. Would a flutter without me having laid a finger on it. Did that thing just move by itself? Saying? But why I was surprised. Gripped by curiosity, we moved in to see what it had been hiding. It was a large antique meter of an elaborately decorated style I had seen before. It wasn't the kind of thing that would normally seem out of place in an old manor like this, and yet, wait, something ain't right. Meanwhile, I was captivated by the gaze of the statue of Venus reflected in the mirror. Suddenly, the eyes of the statue shone with light. What is your desire? It spoke with a voice that was crystal clear yet smoky and husky. In the mirror, it's speaking. Ah, whispering mirror, muttered Miguel, as if he'd seen them 1,000 times before. What's one of those? Kate gave Miguel a quizzical glance. A magical mirror in which the spirit dwells. The spirit can freely move between its own and other mirrors, and will share its wisdom with those who ask. Perhaps we should ask it something. Decided to ask it about something that has been on my mind for some time. Apparently, we asked about Kid. I want to know about Kid's past. Not if you want to leave this place alive, you bloody don't. His face turned red with anger. What's just my command? Responded to me, ignoring Kid, who had grabbed me by the collar and was leaning. The image of the mirror rippled, and the reflection of the statue shook. And then the mirror's surface grew dark. The blackness gave way to a scene in Aurora. Shadowy figures appeared one by one. There was a young woman surrounded by several children. They were all dirty, their clothes ragged and worn, but they all laughed as they played together. And then the scene was drowned in flames. A troop of armed men appeared. The men dragged the woman away, and the children vanished one by one into the inferno. The focus shifted to one of the children, a girl. She was standing with her back to the flames. Her tears leaving tracks through the soot on her face as she howled at the night sky. The girl's right eye was narrow like a cat's. Stop it! The image of the mirror grew faint. At the ground, her hands balled in tight fists. The room was dominated by silence. Worried about it, I broke the silence. Kid, I'm sorry. I'm leaving. She spun her heel. She spun on her heel and made for the door. Wait, I cried and sheepishly darted after her. I stretched out beyond the door. Retraced her steps. Across the ornate door. It was Riddle's room. So we're back here. Continue? Yeah. Going upstairs. Straight. Take the stairs up. Hang on. Let me safely save. You started climbing, and at the top, we found another intersection. Taking the right at the dead end. Alright, we're upstairs. Left towards the terrace. Alright, hide on the. Wait, examine the desk. No. Okay, we're trying to get to the study. Taking the corridor to the right will lead us to a dead end with a large door. Wow, the terrace. She stopped there on her tracks, sticking away out her hand. She drew her knife and stared into the darkness. Goblin guards. Uh-oh. It wasn't likely there'd be anyone going for a nightmare stroll. Nighttime stroll around the manor. I drew my knife. I have to go that way. I picked up won the situation pretty quickly and drew my knife. Prepare for a fight. Give me a sideward glance. You know something? You're starting to look like a real thief. Now you just need to walk the walk. Alright, Surge Miguel. Let's get him. There were 5 of them in total. Having been well looked after in this town, they grew even bigger than Miguel. Each of them was carrying the Manor's Goblin's trademark. A morning star consists of a rod and a heavy spiked iron ball. Wait, or is it a flail? I can never remember. And I didn't have time to think about too much about it. A goblin came rushing at me. I got up. Oh, yeah, okay. I looked to the side and burned to the wall, arm. Did you really expect to stop a morning star with only a knife? Your stupidity will get you killed. Grab the fallen. Rushed into the goblin's head. It won't be getting up anytime soon. Against 2 of the goblins, their dull lumbering attacks couldn't touch hers. It's all floated like a butterfly, sting like a bee. But stings make for tough going against enemies that could really take a beating. Covered in cuts, but their attacks were as powerful as ever. I mean, for now, I thought, oh no. But then the pupils rolled into the back of its head, and Are you okay? It wiped the blood from her knife, not saying a word, and then she sheathed it and took a step towards me. It was a terrifying look on her face. I was sure I was about to get another earful. She glanced at the goblin on the floor. The iron ball was deeply embedded in its skull. Blimey, that must have hurt. I mean, never used the morning star before, have you? Could have just easily knocked your own block off swinging around and anything like that. Be more careful next time, alright? I thought she was going to yell at me like usual, but there was something almost nice about the way she was telling me off. Thanks, she said softly into my ear, and I felt something warm and soft on my cheek. Wait a second, what's that? There was a leather bag on the ground, containing a sparkling gem. Now we're talking. Kid's face lit up with joy. Nice find, Serge. What a beaut. Snatched it away, leaving me to settle for a compliment. Ah, I'd taken a few knocks, but I was all right. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Not bad, Serge. Not bad at all. Didn't know you had it in you. The stairs to the side passage emerged. Alternate double doors. I don't think this is it. Is it this one? Is this a study? Oh no. Doesn't look like anyone's in there. To be the Maya Hall of the Manor. There was a massive table. Beautiful decorations on the wall. Thick columns decorated with sculptures of birds and beasts fixed to the wall. And the back towered a tremendous pipe organ like a banished Black Mountain. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light sending the corridors, the room dancing in and out of the shadows. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the wall. Were these members of Linux's family? Was very staring at the painting depicting a young husband and wife. when I realized that their eyes had turned to look right at me. Okay, they had. Don't worry, this isn't about to turn into some dumb ghost story. It just looked that way because of the way the wall, the flickering lights of the candles reflected against the glossy Oreo paints. It's like, don't worry, we're not turning this into a ghost story. We're not going that far. Obviously, probably. This place gives me the creeps. You gotta look at all these ugly mugs. Oh my god, when I had any objection, we left the hall and returned to the corridor. It's going down. Okay, take the side passage. That probably should take us there. There we go. That's the door I was looking for. Went inside. I pushed the door ajar and peeked into the room. Kid gently pushed the door ajar. Peeked into the room. The next thing I knew, she slipped in Miguel and I followed. Looks like a study. The room was lit by the moonlight coming through the long, slender windows, slanting down in pale beams through the darkness. It was pretty big for a study, with an immaculate antique desk dominating the center. You know what there's something I noticed while the more I keep playing this game, and I've done 2 hours of it in the past, but got a lot of it. But this feels like it plays out like a visual novel, of course, but it's more interesting than an actual like modern day visual novel. I think it's because of the artwork and like the scenes. Like take this room. The lights in the back, the candle lights move. They flicker and stuff. And there's like shadows and lighting. And modern day visual novels, it's just a still background with somebody talking. I honestly thought the moment I realized this was a visual novel that it would be boring, but I'm more invested in this than I would in normally because I don't like visual novels. They just don't feel fun or designed correctly. It doesn't really capture me in a story. On through the long center window. Oh, looks like a study. The room was lit by a moonlight coming through the window, slanting down and pale beams through the darkness. It was pretty big for a study, with an immaculate antique desk dominating the center. There were rows of bookshelves lined with thick, dusty old tomes. The wall to the rear of the room was decorated with paintings, and shelves of vases and painted plates stood before it. They all seemed to be curios from foreign lands. Okay, examine the desk. I went over to the desk and started searching the drawers. There, I found a neatly arranged set of pens, ink bottles, and other writing materials. Nothing I'm interested in. Otherwise, a small portrait on the desk caught my eye. It was a picture of a young girl with a gentle smile on her lips. Who is she? Who was she? That's the girl Linux adopted. If you ask me, it wasn't because he was looking to help the needy, he said, peering over my shoulder. She wrinkled her nose in distaste. Not even a looker. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't a loud knock, but in the bottomless silence of the night, it might have well been a thunderclap. Kid and I stood bolt upright and turned towards it. Miguel, meanwhile, hid in the shadows, drifting away like smoke. Panicked, I whispered, Kid. Right under the desk? Yeah, hide under the desk. Hide under the desk. What? There's no time. I shoved Kid under the desk and darted it under it with her. Oof. It was more crammed than I thought it would be. I packed myself in as best as I could, but Kid and I found ourselves in an awkward tangle of legs and arms. Ah, flickering candlelight spread from the doorway with a warm glow. A shadowy figure appeared in the threshold. I tried to pack myself into the space under the desk just a little tighter and stilled my breath. I looked down for a moment, and my heart skipped a beat. Kid's lips were right there. For a moment, everything else seemed to drift away. The pink bow of her mouth was so soft. Oh my god. It's beating so loud. I thought my chest would burst. I squeezed them tightly shut. Whatever it was didn't mean to come in. They simply stood there. Strange. I thought I heard something. But the Lord of the Manor is away, of course. Why would there be anyone in here? I had to get over my nerves. Everything was fine until we heard the news that Pora was on the move. The figure quietly closed the door, plunging the room back into darkness. The voice trailed off to a whisper. We remained motionless, keeping our ears pricked for any sign of an unwelcome return. All we heard was footsteps moving. As I stayed hidden, listening for trouble, a thought began to cross my mind. Kid, sure does. Now's not the time, Serge. You're gonna move your ass or what? She whispered into my ear, giving it a low nibble. What is that? Oh, sorry. My feet in a panic, smacking my head right into the top. Ooh. Ow. Quivering my head in my hands, I crawled out from underneath. It stings. After, and stood up, looking down at me on the floor. Now your most heroic moment. Are you alright? Yeah, I'll live. She took a look around the room. No sign of that dirtbag Linux. Luckily for him. So poor me has made its move. Miguel emerged from the shadows, contemplating the news we'd heard overheard. Yet, if the rumors are true, we might well be about to find ourselves in a very difficult situation. This seemed to set her thinking too. Porar was a cow formation that ruled the southern continent. I'd heard it was a prosperous land whose recent and sudden development had pushed it far ahead of its neighbors, which made me wonder, why would its inhabitants want here, out in the sticks? They couldn't be after the frozen crane too, could they? As valuable as it might be, a jewel was just a jewel in a grand scheme of things. I couldn't imagine it being an item of natural essence. I mean, ultimately, it was just a pretty rock, right? Let them do what they want. If everyone's busy playing soldier, they won't be bothering us. Come on, we got things to do. We left the room and made our way back down the passage. Needing fun to study. We're at the intersection. Okay, we're at the intersection. We're here. Some stairs led down. The corridor branched left and right, with the light branching back to the terrace. Okay. Head towards the terrace. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. Continue. A short walk along the corridor, running from right hand to left. Yeah, we're on the other side now. So let's just do that. Be safety safe. Get on our right. Dead quiet. Open it. Yeah. In we go. The door wasn't locked. It swung slowly open. What's this room supposed to be? Place is a dump. Kid poked her head in through the door. taking a quick peek to see if there was anyone inside, and was disappointed by what she found. The room was large and littered with particular-looking machinery and knickknacks, all of which were covered in dust and had seemingly dumped there haphazardly. Everything looked like it had been there resting for a long time. The ends of the room were completely dark, and it was impossible to tell how big it was, or even what the walls and floors looked like. It seemed that manor inhabitants had turned the old clock tower into a makeshift storage space some time ago. I stepped wearily inside. Leave that alone. I looked over towards Miguel and saw a kid trying to pull something from the shadows. It was a huge sword that appeared to be very old indeed. You don't need that old budgeling. It only gets in the way. It'll only get in the way. As much of an antique it is, it won't fetch much on the market in that condition. Yeah, I reckon it might, you know. There are plenty of collectors who just love old bits of junk. Well, some old bits of junk. Pouting. Kid left the sword where she stood. At least she put it back down gently. It was then that we heard a voice from the shadows. And what exactly are you doing here? I just about jumped out of my skin. Who's there? Kid and Miguel turned to face the voice, ready for a fight. A wizened crone emerged from the shadows. She was hunched over and wore a hood draped over her face. I could tell at a glance that she wasn't just old. She was positively ancient. That is rude. That's rude, Serge. Serge, don't be rude. Just some dunnery old bag. What do you think you're doing sneaking up on us like that? Kid's shoulders relaxed as the tension left her body. Miguel, however, continued to give the woman a piercing stare. Oh, what an impish little thing you are. Here to visit a friend, perhaps? Not in the dead of night, I suspect. The crone narrowed eyes. Let's get a closer look at you. Ah, yes, you must be here to get your revenge on Lennox. How did you? My heart jumped. He seemed to know exactly who we were. We were in trouble. What if she had sounded the alarm? Whatever the treasure, we'd have to give up on the treasure and run for our lives. Definitely tell her she was right. So what if we are? Kid narrowed her eyes. Right back at the room. What's it to you if we're here to get our revenge on old Linuxy boy? You gonna do something about it? You never change, do you? Orange shaking. Ah, the boldness of youth. Yes, that's the spirit. You what? Looked at the crone completely confused. I was no less mystified. What the heck are you on about? Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. Yes, it was around. It was around then that an innocent young thief stole into the manor looking to singe Lord Lennox's whiskers. She couldn't have been much older than 10. Now that I think of it, shocked, my gaze turned to Kid. A glint appeared in Kid's eyes, but her glare was like ice. It certainly felt as if the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped below freezing. With a chuckle, the crone continued her story, pretending not to have noticed the change in mood. She was an orphan, you know. Came after Lying to avenge a woman who loved her like her own daughter. But all the vengefulness in the world couldn't change the fact that she was only a little girl. She was no match for Linux's men, sadly. They quickly captured her. Linux is the kind of man one would fear to have for an ally, never mind a foe. Had it not been for the timely assistance of a friend of hers, the girl would have certainly been executed. The way the people of the manor told it, the very shadows pitied the girl and rushed in to spirit her away. I wonder how much of the tale could be true. I have nothing but sympathy for those who knows failure, of course. You can't win all the time. And sometimes, against all the odds, fate really can be foiled. And the clockwork of history sent into disarray. No, the ones I have no patience for are those who do not recognize their failures and who failed and choose to give up as a result. Looked up from under her hood, stared Kid directly in the face and grinned. Kid's anger fading, giving way to a dumbfounded expression. If you wish to steal the gem jewel from Linux, you truly wish to triumph, you will have to let go of a treasure of your own, Kid. For as long as you cling into it, the hands of your clock will never move. They'll stay exactly where they came to rest all those years ago. Who are you? Me? I'm just an old bag, like you said. I do apologize. I must have taken up a lot of your time with all my blabbering. I'll leave you in peace. Oh, before I go, Crone turned to face me. You seem to be injured, young man. If you wish, I can take a look at your wounds. With all the attention suddenly turned towards me, I panicked. What? Oh, alright then, please still. A few words. So burning fingers drew sigils in the air. A pale, gentle light began to surround my body, filling me with a strange warmth. Strike a light. That's no ordinary spell. I felt my wounds healing. I heard a nostalgic melody that soothed the wounds in my heart. Before I realized it, Curran was gone. Hey, lady. I was scanning the darkness, but there was no one to be seen, and her calls went unanswered. What the bloody heck was that? Looked like she just woken up on the floor of a laughing pig after a few too many. And what did she mean about you having to let go of a treasure? Well, we won't find any answers here. Time to move on. Miguel brought us back down to earth, emotionless as always. It almost seemed as if he thought nothing had happened at all. I guess you're right. Hold it, you. Just as I was about to follow Kid out of the room, she jabbed me in the side with her elbow. You stingy little... Why didn't you tell her to share some of that healing magic with the rest of us? Classic Kid. I did it. Head right. Right word leads to the depths of the matter. I was a rather sturdy looking door to our left when I left. Alright. Try to open a little further on. Keep something safe. If there ain't some kind of treasure behind it, me name ain't Kid. Yep, that's the smell of cold hard cash, alright. Muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door more closely. What am I, stupid? Of course it's bloody locked. Try the door handle a few times before giving it a grumpy kick. Bloody door's got a magic barrier on it. And the bloody magic barrier's got a barrier on it to beat. It'll take more and me putting the boot in to get through all that. I see, then unless we find a key, we don't have a hope of getting in. Reckon I can handle a key hunt, especially if it's that idiot Linux who's hitting it. If we can find this room, I'll sniff it out in 2 seconds flat. Just you watch. There's a little more we can do. Continue on. Foot of some stairs. With Kid in the lead, we headed upward. It was dark, and the stairwell was narrow. We watched our footing carefully as we climbed. The stone of his steps was worn smooth with age, and I lost count of how many there were as we spiraled onward and upward. Awful sense of foreboding haunting me. I had no idea why, but it felt as though we were marching to the gallows. When we arrived at the top of the stairs, we were greeted by an old, heavy door looming in the silence. All was deathly silent, and the still, clammy air added to the sense of ominous apparition. Something's very wrong here, I muttered without thinking. I hear cursed whispers from beyond the door. And it doing nothing to lift the mood. Grow up, will you? Back at us. She was already examining the door. Well, it ain't locked. I don't hear anyone inside. Alright, here goes. Revealed what lie beyond. It was a small cylinder room that appeared to be inside of one of the stone towers. It was completely deserted, and there were no windows. What's that this supposed to be? Something about this place gives me the creeps. Still standing in the doorway, seems suddenly taken aback. There might be something in here. Let's take a closer look. A closer look at a bloody empty room? Blah. Might as well, I guess. We did climb all them stairs. Kid stepped in through the door. Kid stepped through the door, grumbling under her breath. I scanned the room and noticed something on the floor. The flagstones were covered in dozens of narrow scratches, and in places there were thick black stains. Something in the stains spoke of a horror that no amount of scrubbing would ever wash away. A malice and a sadness beyond imagining. There was someone here. In front of the wall, Miguel was expecting brownish markings that looked more like more of the same stain. Someone's carved letters into the wall and scribbled and scrambled them using blood magic. I'm able to take a look. Looks pretty old. Hard to read, too. Some of it's been worn away. Let's see. I cannot hold out much longer. My only hope now is to leave the arcane signet in this room. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. We jumped to our feet with a start. From above us, we heard an unsettling creaking sound. The walls and floors began to tremble. What's going on? Darted around the room and she desperately tried to figure out what was happening. It doesn't matter what's happening, get up. Creaky sound from above continued, and the ceiling moved ominously closer. Oh. Oh! We walked right into a bloody trap. We gotta do something fast. We don't have time. Arch the door. Sprang at the door like an arrow, slamming into a shoulder grip, but it was too heavy. Frame bounced right on. More like the wing smashing in it with ferocious force. Made a creaking sound and shook from the impact. Meanwhile, the risk. Countless blades were popping in and out. Gonna take the three of us. Charged at the door once, twice, a third time, and then the door was open. We were collapsed in a heap of them. We heard the sound of the bladed ceiling grinding on the stone floor of the tower room. The metallic scraping noise it made was awful. We could only look on in silent horror at the fate we so narrowly evaded. The machinery continued for a short while before slowly coming to a stop. It seemed the ceiling trap had finally finished its grisly work. Bugger me. Talk about a nasty surprise. Is it some sort of execution chamber? Miguel continued, seeming to be deep in thought. In any case, that writing mentioned Arcadi. Yeah, what was that all about? The Arcadia Dragoons, the elite knightly order serving General Viper, who once governed the territory of Gosberg to the west. Former knightly order, I should say. They were wiped out more than a decade ago by the lord of this very manor, no less. Thanks for the history lesson, Mac. Kid rose to our feet, patting off the dust. Too bad we're not here for fairy tale nights. Come on, we got a lot more exploring left to do. And we headed back to the stairs. Headed downstairs. Started looking door to our right. That would be, if I'm right, that's the, what's we call it, right? What is this? The treasure vault right now.